Hello again, I am Blunty. I've just got done streaming today. Over the last few days, and continuing for the next few days, I've been doing a live stream playthrough of Pokemon Crystal, doing an all normal type run through the game, because I thought it'd be an interesting gimmick to do as we anticipate Let's Go Eevee. Eevee being the star of that, and not being able to evolve and being normal type throughout the entire game. Anyway, you get the gimmick. Anyway, because of the type of game Pokemon is, there's a lot of time for chat with the chat room as we play through, and the subject came up today of the latest hot button controversy in video gaming, that being the Spider-Man stuff. Of course, that's why you're seeing Spider-Man behind me there. This is some gameplay of mine from E3. If you're curious what I think about the game, well, I'm looking forward to it. I have put down money on pre-order, which, yes, makes me part of the problem, as it were. Never pre-order games, it only encourages the bastards. But yeah, you can take it from the fact that I pre-ordered, that I'm anticipating it with great glee. It feels really fun to play. The web slinging feels very fluid and natural, and you just sort of flow through the city. It just feels really lovely, and the combat is the same kind of flowy, I was mostly button mashing because I didn't have time to, my half-hour demo in the media booth at E3, at Sony's booth. I didn't have time to sort of learn the combos and do much experimenting. I was just trying to mess around and see how it felt. So mostly I was button mashing, which is why if you see some of the combat behind me there, it's probably a bit terrible. Point is, it felt like there was potential there to have a lot of fun with the combos and the way in that you approach combat and things like that. And, it's someone asked me today on the stream, and I suggested that I think it will probably wind up rating better, sort of the number score from Metacritic and such, better than the Arkham series. And that was very, very popular too. So I'm very much looking forward to Spider-Man. Looks great, feels great, very excited by it. But if you've managed to avoid the controversy so far, let me break it down for you. Some screenshots, some stills from recent trailers compared to stuff from E3, for example, seem to be missing some puddles and such. And there's a comparison graphic I saw on Twitter and stuff, comparing the same scene from one of the E3 trailers and gameplay demos versus a more recent example. And there's a big puddle missing and lots of reflections missing, and Spider-Man's suit isn't quite as shiny, and people are freaking out, claiming that the graphics of Spider-Man have had a massive downgrade and we're being deceived and ripped off, and etc., etc., etc. Can we just not, as gamers, can we not do this every damn time? Because this isn't a new thing. All right, there's a Penny Arcade comic from 2005 that's pointing out this issue. They coined the phrase bullshot, a screenshot, but it's bullshit because by the time the game releases, stuff has been downgraded to make sure they hit performance targets, so the game plays properly. And while in development, they'll trying to make it look as good as possible, and then just peeling back the bits they couldn't quite make happen and things like that. It's nothing unusual in game development. It happens all the time. And the fact that people are screaming bloody murder about the Spider-Man thing, how are you this pathetic? This is the thing you whine about. This is the thing that consumes your day. You're concerned about the missing puddles from Spider-Man. It doesn't mean the game is going to be any less fun. It just means the game doesn't look quite as fancy as it did in the original trailers at E3. And this kind of controversy with the Spider-Man thing is also why, when they finally decided to show the Cyberpunk gameplay stuff to the general public, they were very reticent to do so. And when they finally did, there was like a 45-second disclaimer at the start of the gameplay saying, this is just development, stuff is going to change, I promise you. If you see glitches, if you see this, if we show more gameplay 3 months down the track and it looks different, don't freak out, that's normal. And it's not going to work. Of course, people are still going to do the comparisons and pick it apart and, dissect it like a frog and make wild claims about the game being downgraded or being worse. Or you people on the Reddit forums and such who are dissecting these screenshots and complaining about massive downgrades and being deceived and lied to. And can we not? You're embarrassing the entire subculture of gamers. Accept the fact that games always wind up looking different by the time they're released than what they looked like in development. And if you pre-ordered a game just because the graphics were quite pretty, maybe you've chosen the wrong hobby. The Witcher 3 example I gave you before, most racing and sporting games. You compare any trailer for an EA game from their football series. I'm doing what I didn't want to do. I don't want to go this example and this example and this example, because all that happens then is these kind of dipshits start dissecting the examples. They go, oh yeah, but, oh yeah, but, oh yeah, but. And that's just the wrong approach to this. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You can see the grey in my hair, right? The grey in the beard. I've been around on this planet for about 4 decades. I've been gaming for as long as I can remember. Like, one of my earliest memories is playing Pac-Man on the Atari 2600. Probably the worst version of Pac-Man that ever existed on a home console, but I liked it. It looked worse, it played worse, but when I played it, it's what I knew, and it was fun for me. And I literally haven't stopped being a gamer since that day, sometime in the early 80s, whenever it was. So I've seen the complete evolution of gaming. Like, gaming was born shortly before I was. Gaming as an industry, as an entertainment medium, as a type of public entertainment, as a commodity, as a industry, as a subculture. I've been there through it all. I've seen all kinds of games and looking all kinds of ways. And guess what? Not one of them is good or bad because of how it looks. The important stuff is how it plays. Is it a fun game to play? Is it a fun concept? Are the controls good? Is the interface good? Does it run well? Because guess what? If they made Spider-Man look as pretty as it did in the E3 trailers and it only ran at 15 or 20 frames per second, guess what you'd be complaining about more? Would you prefer a game that ran like shit but had extremely pretty puddles and reflections? Or would you like a Spider-Man game to run as smoothly as possible? And let's not even touch on the fact that almost everybody complaining about this has never even played it. I've played it. I sat down on a couch at Sony's E3 press booth, controller in hand, little cheat guide for the combos sitting next to me, and I played it. And I played it for about half an hour, and I recorded it for about half an hour. Unfortunately, my camera's focus drifted because they made me move my camera out of the way, and I forgot to refocus it, which is why I'm sitting in front of this footage so you don't notice so much that it's all blurry. But the point is, pretty puddles or not, shiny suit or not, draw distance at 400 meters or 800 meters, virtual game distance or not, it's how the game plays and how it runs which is more important than precisely how pretty they can get it. Of course, there is also those of us who can have the best of both worlds. PC gamers. And behind the green screen there is a PC that's very powerful and I can run almost any game at completely maxed out settings, some of which even maxed out 4K, which is really nice. I mean, it is pleasant. Undoubtedly, it is pleasant to have games looking really pretty, but it's no good if they don't run pretty. Performance before pretty. I'd sacrifice 1 billion shiny puddles before I sacrifice a game running at anything less than an ideal frame rate. How about you? How do you feel about that? Huh? It's not a rhetorical question. I'm actually asking you. Would you rather a game run like shit but look incredible? Or would you rather a little graphics drop and the game running really well? Anyone who answers one way is an idiot, basically, in my opinion. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty, and we'll catch you next time. And just calm down. We're only like 5 days away from Spider-Man launching. Buy it, don't buy it. Wait for reviews, don't wait for reviews. Wait for games. So I'll be streaming it day one, if you're curious, over on the Twitch channel, of course. If you're curious to come along and see it. You know, I've got a streaming PC that's strong enough for a good encode and a big fat internet connection for a nice bitrate. So it should look pretty good on the stream as well. I'll be streaming at 1080, 60. So if if you're all curious about it, you don't want to buy it straight off the bat. You want to see how many puddles there are. In fact, that's what we're going to do for the first 2 hours of the game. We're going to go puddle hunting. As soon as they let me free roam the city, I'm just going to look for puddles. That's all I'm going to do for 2 hours straight. I'm going to count the puddles. Turn into a drinking game. Every puddle we see, shot of vodka. How about that? That's probably a bad plan. Fun, but bad plan. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. I'll catch you next time.